Hello, Augies Worldwide. I'm Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, and this is Ham Radio Answers. I have next to me Trevor Holman, who is our Ask Dave editor. He gathers all the questions that are asked via email to hamradioanswers@gmail.com. That's hamradioanswers, all one word, at gmail.com. He collates them, and we put these videos together to try and answer as many questions as we can.
LCSC Electronics is now a sponsor of this channel. LCSC Electronics is an international distributor of electronics parts and is a circuit board manufacturer. Please check out their websites at https://lcsc.com and https://ezeda.com.
Trevor, what do we have today?
All right. Luke asks about the Zenith Transoceanic shortwave radio build.
Oh my goodness. The Zenith Transatlantic shortwave radio is a classic in the field. I have one. I don't know if it works or not, probably not. It's so old it needs to be restored, but it was absolutely a classic in its day, and there are a number of people who rebuild these things and enjoy them for shortwave. There's not nearly as many shortwave broadcasters on the air now as there used to be. They've all moved to the internet. Wanting to know if it's a good radio to build. The Zenith Transoceanic shortwave was a rather sophisticated super het receiver. Trying to build one just like it is going to be a real struggle to do that. There are other radios out there that you can build. MFJ has a real nice kit for a shortwave regenerative receiver. There are other kits out there too that work for those. So I would definitely not try something as difficult as the Zenith Transoceanic, but to try some of the other radios first. I really should look at my Transoceanic. I haven't really done anything with it in several years.
Sam, call sign KK4VTC, would like to know about the FTDX 3000 clarifier.
Okay, well, I have an FTDX 3002. Clarifier is showing some frequency other than 0 hertz, even though I'm not using the clarifier. What it's showing is the frequency that it would be using if you turn it on. It's caused by inadvertent movement of VFOB, even though I'm not using the clarifier. The cat does that sometimes, he says. Yeah, it doesn't affect anything unless you turn the clarifier on. If the clarifier is off, it just shows what it would be if it were on. The purpose of the clarifier when it's not being used is none, not using it at all. The clarifier is something that you would use, is sometimes called receiver incremental tuning on other models. Basically, if you're in the middle of a QSO and the other station starts to drift, what you want to do is keep your frequency the same to try and keep the conversation coming back to that frequency. So you use the clarifier to follow the other station while your transmitter stays rock solid. Don't forget to turn it off for the next QSO though.
All right. Joe has a question about the science of ham.
Science of ham radio. He's one of the people who thinks that ham is an acronym. It's not. It's lowercase, and it's ham meaning a ham radio operator in the sense of a non-professional or something like that. And it was originally used by commercial radio operators to indicate people that they thought were not good operators. They call them hams, like ham actors. Well, the name stuck, and we use it today quite proudly, ham radio. So let's see, he wants to shoot for amateur extra at the same time. My recommendation is that you go for your general, get on the air, get some experience, and then that amateur extra license will mean a lot more to you. After all the math and engineering you've seen, what do you think about the other hidden dimensions out there way past J and K? Well, radio and electromagnetic fields are well expressed using what I'd call ordinary complex notation. That's a real part and an imaginary part, with J used as the imaginary part operator, being the equivalent of the square root of -1. When you get into physics, there's a lot of concerns about various possible models of the universe that use more dimensions. If you look at space-time in the Einsteinian sense, you have 4 fundamental variables. There's X, Y, Z, and time. And time is a variable, and depending on the amount of mass involved, it tends to warp space. So that's why it's called the space-time continuum. We don't normally do much with that. We see very minor relativistic effects on some GPS clocks and things like that, which are taken care of in the design. Now there's something called, if you want to really have fun, something called quaternions, which also can be used to explain electromagnetic wave theory. However, there are a lot of people who think that quaternions are self-inconsistent. I won't get into that argument at all. I'm kind of in the camp that between the real and the imaginary, we can cover everything that's real.
All right, Thomas, call sign W8AI, would like to know if it's possible to get videos on thumb drive.
Yeah. Is it possible to get Ask Dave episodes 1 through 76 on CD or thumb drive? I could do that. You're not going to get 76 videos on a thumb drive, I don't think. Even the 64 gigabit ones. I do the extra videos on the thumb drive. It does take 64 gigabyte because the amateur extra videos add up to about 40 gigabytes. I'd have to see how much they add up to. I do have them all. Thank you. I may offer that for anybody who would like that. They could be used just to watch. They could be used as a sure cure for insomnia. They could also be used for club meetings and things like that, people who would want to see one. Let me think about that and see how much room that would take to do that.
All right, Daniel asks about an 11-meter band.
The 11 meters. See, Ham's working QSOs on the 11-meter band. You shouldn't. The 11-meter band, the old amateur radio 11-meter band, is now the Citizens band, around 27 megahertz, just below the 10-meter band. They are not hams. They sometimes pick up ham lingo, and they make up call signs for themselves and so on. There are no assigned call signs on CB, and you can use it for pretty much anything legal. Yes, it is available overseas. Some hams still have it. Others use it as Citizens band. In the United States, among amateur radio operators, Citizens band is not well thought of. That is not true overseas. The people who are on Citizens band overseas are thought of by hams as potential recruits, people who are interested in radio just like they are. If you are on the 11-meter band, you remember you're not using your amateur radio license, you're using Citizens band, licensed by right. because you are in that frequency. It's different from the amateur radio bands where you have to have an actual license to use it. Not true on CB.
All right. Ed, call sign MOMNG, would like some advice on his visit to the U.S.
Well, come on over. Going to visit the Dayton Hamvention in 2019, which would be his first ever visit. He's M0, so that's an English call. We'll be traveling light, so we'll only bring a VHF handheld. Are there frequencies in particular that you recommend in the program into the radio in advance? In the United States, the frequency coordination is done at the ARRL section level. So there's no standardized frequency other than 146.52 megahertz is the 2-meter calling frequency for simplex. So you'd want that. If you're going to Dayton, they have some talk-in frequencies that you can talk to get directions to the place and so on. There will be 30,000 people there, and a lot of them will have handhelds, so it'll be wall-to-wall radio, believe me. Yeah, I know I went to Dayton in 2018. Yes, I did. So are there any amateur frequencies in particular you recommend? There are the Hamfest frequencies that are communicated in the guidance. I gather that 145.525 used for talk-in, and the DARA, which is the outfit that runs the Hamfest, operates a repeater up in the 146 megahertz range. Is there just the one repeater in the local area or more than one? I don't know. You could Google ham radio repeaters in Dayton, Ohio, and see what you come up with. And welcome to the U.S. Come on over. If you happen to be in Colorado, stop by.
Thomas, call sign AE1TP, is wondering about understanding some call signs.
There was a contest, and all of the call signs were not recognizable. I was very confused. A lot of activity. Late July. Tom, who has both an overseas and an American call sign, says he's been out of the hobby for a long time. There are occasions where people can use special call signs. I remember back in 1976, we could use 1976 as part of our call sign to celebrate the anniversary. There's other things that you can do. I don't think they do that for either SOTA or IOTA. SOTA is summits on the air. IOTA is islands on the air. It's quite a sub-hobby collecting those. Now, a lot of the British call signs used to always start with G. Now you see quite a few with M and a bunch with 2E. Some of those are, I think, Irish call signs too. It just changes from time to time. But they have to follow the rules from the International Telecommunications Union, the ITU. It's part of the United Nations, headquartered in Switzerland.
Phil, call sign W4AIN, would like to know about HF, VHF, and UHF power meters.
Mm-hmm. What is the inherent difference between them? What makes them band specific? The problem is that the components in them, the inductors and capacitors, which are reactive, change properties as the frequency goes up. And what used to be minuscule resistance in an inductor suddenly becomes important, changes the Q of the circuit and so on. So HF and VHF/UHF power meters are often different. I know I have a power meter that if you switch a button on the front, you can go HF or VHF for power. Now SWR is a different story, since SWR is the ratio of two powers. If a meter is going to give you the wrong power on, say, a UHF frequency, it'll give you the wrong power when you're looking at reflected power too, but it's kind of a linear type process, so the ratio of the two will actually give you the SWR. So that's why SWR meters can work up into the VHF and UHF range, whereas in the power and meters you have to have some sort of a split or switch or something to go between the two. So that's the end of that question set. We'll have more coming up. Thanks to Trevor here for serving as our editor, and thanks so much to all of you for submitting questions to hamradioanswers@gmail.com. That's hamradioanswers@gmail.com. Please be sure to take a look at the Patreon page at www.patreon.com/KE0OG, and think about becoming a patron of Ham Radio Answers. Just $1 or $2 a month is quite a help. Anything that you can provide helps support this channel and keep it coming. So until we next meet, 73.